All right, peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let me give you the latest around the case of Tyre Nichols, about the hearing of those five black police officers that were involved in the brutal beating of our brother. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, it is election day here in America. This is the kickoff, as we are a little bit less than 1 year away from the federal presidential election. But there are a number of cities, states, and municipalities around the country that will be where voters are going to the polls. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to talk about how it's important for us to help our veterans heal, and how one club, the Sierra Club, is doing its part to helping veterans heal through nature. We're going to talk a little bit about that and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Make sure you join us as we are streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page and be a part of the Culture crew. Stay with us. It's The Culture. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I am your host, Farajii Muhammad. Happy Tuesday, folks. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, as we have certainly a lot to talk about. We are streaming live, folks, on a number of different platforms. First and foremost, check us out on our home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Blackstarnetwork.com, where you can download the app for free on all devices. You can follow us on social media. And, of course, we want your financial support to keep powering us through this digital movement. So just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, and we thank you for your support. Now, also, we are streaming live on Amazon News on your Amazon Fire TV. Make sure you check us out there, as well as Amazon Prime Video. And you can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, then go to News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, then News. And we certainly appreciate you checking us out there. We're also streaming on Freevee, where you can find us under News, Black Star Network. And we are also on Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right, folks, let's jump right into it. Big shout out to my online culture crew that's checking in all around the country. Pastor Damon Blissett, I see you. Thank you so much. There we go. Kathleen Davis, thank you so much. You're in here. Kathleen said, I'm in doing my hair. Okay, there, Kathleen. Okay. Deidre Hall, happy culture crew. Happy election day. Happy election day, Deidre. Thank you so much for checking in. And Pastor Damon, you said today is your 25th wedding anniversary. Come on, Pastor. Come on, big brother Damon. Congratulations to you and your wife and to your beautiful family. We certainly appreciate it. And you also say, Brother Damon, that you and your son voted today. Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing your part as an enlightened and active citizen of this democracy. Also, Monkey Confessions, I see you. Thank you so much for checking in. And folks are streaming in. Make sure y'all do the same and get ready to join us in the chat. All right, folks, let's start off with the latest developments in the case of Tyre Nichols. This is one of those stories I don't think I will ever really be able to wrap my mind around. And I'm sure that many of you may feel the same way, about five black men who brutally beat another black man while on camera. And there was a short hearing yesterday in Shelby County Criminal Court. Take a look at this. This is the latest from the GRIO. During a short hearing on Monday, Shelby County Criminal Court Judge James Jones Jr. announced the August 12th trial date in the cases of Emmett Martin, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith. Each has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder and other charges in state court. Let's take a look as we look at this situation. A fifth officer is charged in the case of Desmond Mills Jr., who pled guilty last week to federal charges of excessive force and obstruction of justice. The plea is part of a larger deal in which prosecutors said he had also agreed to plead guilty later to state charges. So out of the five black men, and let's show those pictures once again, Lise. Out of those five black men, that's Emmett Martin the third. Who else is Tadarius Bean? That's Justin Smith right there. Tadarius Bean. And Wisdom Desmond Mills Jr., he was the one that pled guilty. And then there's Demetrius Haley. Five black men who brutally beat and killed Tyre Nichols. It was a case, and it continues to be a case that just shakes the consciousness of your soul, man. I mean, it just gets down to the very essence of it. And, every time I read something about this case or every time this case is discussed, it's like I am blown away that these five black men were responsible for the death of this brother here, who doesn't even look threatening, who doesn't even look threatening. So y'all know if you don't know how I feel about this situation, throw the book at these men. Throw the book at these men. No crocodile tears. No crocodile. It is absolutely horrendous that that brother, Tyre Nichols, who you're seeing right there, folks, had to endure that type of brutality at the hands of black men who said that they cared. These were black men that were involved in a lot of stuff, serving on the police, being a part of fraternities, the whole nine. But it just speaks volumes about the fact that we have a lot of work to do in this country among ourselves. And this is part of the reason why we wanted to have that Black Men Summit. There's so much work that needs to be done to restore the mind, the heart, the spirit of black men, so that way we don't see another situation like this happen. And it is so, so sad. It is so, so sad. But I'm so happy that a hearing date has been set for August the 12th. I hope that each one of them, I hope justice is served in this case. I'm telling you, I hope justice is served. In the same way that we talk about justice for white officers who brutally beat, who killed black people, same thing here. Same thing here. Because this was not called for. That brother, Tyre Nichols, did not have to die. And he certainly did not have to die the way he did. He definitely did not have to die. If you wanted to prove a point, then there was a lot of other ways to do it. Once that man was handcuffed, once that man was down, he was no longer a threat. And the fact that it was caught on camera, so be it. You don't like my music. Good to connect with you once again. You posted he was resisting us killing him for some reason, said the cops. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't have no tears for these men. I don't have no tears for these men. And it's so sad. Like it's so easy for us to get into a space where we're like, oh man, it could have been this. They had a rough day, mental health problems. Maybe Tyree said something or did something. There was nothing could have been said or would have been done by Tyre Nichols that caused him to lose his life. The same way we said with the white police officers, right? Regardless of what's said, right? Unless that man pulled out a gun, put it to your face, or he pulled out some weapon and served and shown that he was an imminent danger to your life and to your livelihood, then what can be said? What absolutely can be said? Cindy, stop saying I skip you. I don't skip you, Cindy. I just didn't see you. I see you, Cindy. So I appreciate you. Thank you for checking in. But there is something that is inherently wrong. And I think that my hope is when we get closer to the trial date, folks, when that happens, but more importantly, when the conversation about this, let's keep justice at the forefront of the discussion. Let's keep justice at the forefront of the discussion. It's easy for us to talk about what the cops are going through, but it's harder for us to talk about what the victims have endured, the victims' family have endured. How do you talk to black boys about being police officers, joining the force, changing things from within? How do we have that conversation if we're seeing cases like this one, where five black men has brutally beaten another black man to death. How do we have that? How do you reconcile that? And that's the big question. We're not going to get into it at this moment, but it's just so many dynamics to this thing. So, I personally, like I said, hope justice is served. I hope those men serve as much time as the judge can order, can issue, because there was no point in killing that man. That man should have at least walked away from that traffic stop. He should have at least walked away from that encounter. If you wanted to put your hands on him, there was no way in the world that he was going to serve as a threat to five grown big ass men as these guys were. And look at the body frame of that man, of Tyre Nichols. So let justice be served. And let this be an example. Let this be an example for all of us that regardless of your skin color, truth and justice supersedes skin color. I don't care about the skin color if you're doing wrong to another black man and you a black man yourself. I don't care about your skin color if you're doing wrong to a black woman and you're a black man yourself. Well, you're a black. Nah, we can't get into that space. Justice must be served. So that has been determined, and we will see. And of course, make sure y'all keep your eyes here on Black Star Network, and we'll certainly keep you posted on all of that. And the fact that the white cop, Anastasia, thank you for checking in. You said, Farajii, nobody's talking about the white cop that started all of this. It was about a woman. It was. And I think that white cop, he's not going to be criminally charged. So he's not going to be involved. But even if it started with all of that, you mean to tell me, Anastasia, that those black men did not have the presence of mind to be able to say, hey, man, this is excessive. This is too much. We're killing him. You mean to tell me they didn't have the presence of mind, the humanity, the empathy to see what their actions were causing on that little brother, on Tyre Nichols? Please. No excuse. No excuse. And I hope justice is served, and I hope it's served seriously to these men to let us know this is unacceptable and will not be allowed. And you cannot say that you are a member of the black community and you beating up on black people. That's not good for me. Not good for me. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to shift gears. Let's talk about Election Day 2023. It is upon us. If you haven't gone to the polls, some states and cities and municipalities, folks are voting today. We are streaming voting footage and content on Black Star Network. Let's talk a little bit about this. I'm going to be checking in with one Democratic political strategist to give us his take on some of these races and what we should expect as the kickoff of the vote of the election season as we are working our way up until that national election on November 5th, 2024. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about Election Day. There are a number of contests and races, folks, that's happening all across this country. Let me see. Polls are still open in a lot of areas. This is just some of the footage. And I'm gonna ask my team to keep me up to date on what are we of which area that we're looking at for that particular footage here. But there is a number of footage. There's a lot of elections that are happening. We're talking about major races in the states of Kentucky, Mississippi. We're talking about the key states of Ohio. There's an election for the General Assembly in the state of Virginia. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court is up for an election between Republican Carolyn Carluccio and Democrat Daniel McCaffrey. In the U.S. House District 1 in Rhode Island, that voters are going to be making history by possibly electing the state's first Black representative to Congress, or they could possibly may return the seat last held by Republicans in the 1990s to a GOP candidate. So we got to look at the state of Rhode Island. In terms of the mayoral elections that are happening in Texas, in Houston, 17 candidates are vying to replace term limited Mayor Sylvester Turner. Notable hopefuls include U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee and State Senator John Whitmire. Both are Democrats. So Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who has been in Congress, she has been a strong voice for a lot of the issues down in affecting Black folks in this country. She is looking to be the next mayor of the city of Houston, which would be huge, huge. I remember when former Congresswoman, now Mayor Karen Bass made that transition. It was a major transition for her. She, of course, made history here in Los Angeles, being the first woman mayor and first Black woman mayor. So that would be huge to see if Representative Sheila Jackson Lee can pull out a victory in Houston. And I know some of you crew members, I think some of y'all are in Texas. So let me know what the energy and the sentiment is like down there for Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Also in Texas, in the state of in Uvalde, this is where that horrific school shooting took place with 19 children, 2 adults took place in Uvalde. The folks are going to the polls to elect their next mayor. They're looking at a former news reporter, Kimberly Mata Rubio. Her daughter was killed in that Uvalde shooting. Former Mayor Cody Smith and elementary school teacher Veronica Martinez will also be running. Now, city council in the city of New York. This is an election that pretty much is wrapped up, as many people are saying, in New York, because this individual is running unopposed. We're talking about New York City Council District 9 criminal justice reform activist And one of the exonerated five, Yusef Salaam, he is actually running for the New York City Council, unopposed. Let me just let y'all know something. Who's going to run against Yusef Salaam? I mean, seriously. If you're in New York City, I think a number of you are in New York City. Who is going to run against Yusef Salaam? I think he's running in Harlem, if I'm not mistaken. And team, y'all tell me if I'm right or wrong with that. If he's running in Harlem, and I think that was the last thing that we saw. That footage that we just saw there was down from Texas, so we're keeping our eyes on that situation. Now there's some ballot issues that are up for they're up in this election. Schools on the ballot in Philadelphia, Northern Virginia, conservatives and liberals are running against each other for school boards. In Iowa, in Pella, Iowa, which is a Des Moines suburb, voters will decide whether to give the city council more control over the public library after the library board recently rejected the effort of some residents to ban the memoir Genderqueer by Maya Kobadi. So that is on the ballot. Homelessness is a big thing, and not just here in the state of California, but also in Washington state. Voters will decide whether the police can issue tickets to people who camp within 1,000 feet of schools, parks, playgrounds, and child care facilities in Washington state. And then in Colorado, voters will decide whether to prioritize the removal of encampments near schools and sidewalks. Let me tell y'all something, man. This homelessness thing, especially now that I'm living here in Los Angeles, this thing is so big, and I don't know if y'all really experienced this, and I'm talking to y'all crew members here. And as I'm going through this, please share with me your thoughts, post your comments. We're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. But homelessness is such an issue, but it's such a sign as well. I think there are a lot of issues that we can certainly talk about. But when you see people living on the ground, I think, Pastor Damon, you understand this, the level of heart and empathy and just a level of, it's a huge sign about where we are in this culture and in this country. Huge sign. Like literally people are sleeping on the ground, man. And when I see it every day, I just think to myself, like, something has to be done. This is crazy. And the crazy part, I remember reading a story, this was maybe like 2 weeks ago, in the LA Times, where a woman, check this out, y'all. This is crazy. This was a black woman who was homeless with her daughter. They were living out of their car. Their car was parked in a parking lot. This is what California has to do. They have to designate certain parking lots just for people who are homeless and with cars to park there, so that way they don't get ticketed or police will, they get harassed or anything. Like they are allowed to park in designated parking lots for their cars. This is how bad the situation of homelessness has gotten, right, in California. So this sister, guess what? She's sitting in a parking lot in a car with her daughter, a grown daughter. Both work. She makes $72,000 a year. Y'all hear me? She makes $72,000 a year and she can't find a roof to put over her head. 72,000. Now, back in the day, that was like, oh man, you should that opens the door for you. This is how far this country has kind of veered off in this space, right? You're making this is what the article said, $72,000, work full time. She comes home to her car where her and her daughter have to live out of. Blew me away. Blew me away. Blew me away. So when we talking about the homelessness, the unhoused issue here in this country, I can't even wrap my mind around it. You making $72,000 a year and you still living out your car. Whew. You don't like my music, my guy. You said we need affordable housing. A lot of working people can't afford a home. I mean, that's sad. Because we tell people you get you go to school, you go to college, and you get a good job and you make decent money. And you mean to tell me $72,000 doesn't allow you to find no place to live? Whew. Whew. Corinna, you said Cory Bush is absolutely right. No one should be unhoused in America. No one, especially if you are I don't even know what class, like how you designate yourself, working homeless? Is that, I mean, I was 72, I never will forget that. $72,000 a year, you living out your car. You got to put up sheets and stuff just to change. Tiana, you said, thank you for checking in, Tiana. Good to connect with you once again. You said here in Chicago it was bad during COVID. They had tent cities because the shelters could only take in so many people. Right. Here in LA, if y'all visit LA, we got tents on the side of the road, right? And I'm talking about the major areas like Sunset, Hollywood Boulevard, excuse me. But you got tents and trailers, old trailers, I call them movie trailers. Because the city is trying to figure it out. Matter of fact, Mayor Karen Bass just announced that she's trying to keep more hotels open for the homeless here. Man. Mike V, you said, look, good. Hey, Mike, good to connect with you. You said we sent $40 billion to Israel last week. We spend more on rogue states in the Middle East, but won't lift a finger for the unhoused, Farajii. I mean, come on, man. Make it make sense. And I know it's different money for different things. I understand the idea and the concept of that. But you mean to tell me that in some of your most populous and major cities in this country, when you got literally thousands of people on the street, nothing can be done. We got to wait for legislation. People who make $72,000 got to live out their car. Shit. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit more about these issues. And I'm going to share with you some more about what we can expect on Election Day. Stay with us, folks. We're still talking about Election Day 2023 here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20036-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Oh man, I'm loving the conversation we got going on right now here on the culture with the online culture crew as we stream it live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. Folks are checking in from around the country, folks, and welcome back to the show. Talking about Election Day 2023, which is upon us. This is like the official kickoff of the election season. Even though it's an off year, people are saying that this election cycle will dictate how the national elections or the elections after this point will move. And there's a lot on the table. And I wanted to bring in a brother who knew how to kind of navigate and look at all of these elections and more importantly, these issues and where we stand with these issues as Black Americans and as Black voters. So I want to welcome now to the airwaves of the culture here on the Black Star Network, my brother, Doug Wilson. Doug, thank you so much for joining me. How you feeling this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good. Like you said, it's election day. I'm down here in North Carolina, so it's election day here too.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug, you are a couple of things. Let me give people some idea of the work that you do because you've been doing this for a long time. You're a dedicated public servant. You are a consultant. You're founder of Alexander Wilson Consulting. A lot of the work that you do has been working with faith-based, nonprofit, civic engagement and mobilization. Been doing that for years. You've also you're working on the board of directors for the New Rural Project, which is an organization that works with young and minority citizens in rural communities to amplify their voices in the political process. And you've worked with President Obama's team as his field director back in 2008 as the South Carolina Democratic primary was happening. You were on the ground organizing for him. So you've been around. I know I'm sure that you were part of the celebration in Chicago over the past weekend.
I was.
You know, and as we're talking about 15 years from that historic moment. But this is a different America now, Brother Doug.
It is. It really is. And you know what? Being in Chicago, man, it was so nostalgic and so great to see everybody and celebrate the work that we did in getting the first African-American president elected. But it was also bittersweet because we knew or know that there has been a backlash to his election, and we're still facing that today. As you recall, when President Obama was first elected in 2008 and he took office in 2009, the following year, the Tea Party movement started. And that 2010 election, in my opinion, I've been telling folks this, is probably the most consequential election of the new century outside of Obama's election and Trump's election, because that election literally changed the whole trajectory of America. Republicans took over not just the Congress back then, but they won over like 1,000 seats nationwide, which allowed them to redraw these maps and to gerrymander a lot of these states. And by gerrymandering, it diluted a lot of African-American votes.
And so we're at this point, 15 years later. I mean, you know, President Obama, he did 2 terms in the White House. Some people wanted him to do a 3rd term if it was allowed, right? But we went through that process. We went through the Trump administration. Now we're in the age of Bidenomics. And what do you see as being the big focal point that Black folks in this country need to really focus on as we're moving forward and facing another election a year from now, and even dealing with the election day today?
Well, of course, Black folks need to focus on the economy. And what I mean by that is that we need to figure out a way on and how we can get the economy to be a more even level playing field for us. Granted, unemployment for African Americans is the lowest it's ever been. But what I'm concerned about is, and I think brothers and sisters should pay attention to, is, now that the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action, that could start having ripple effects, not just on college admissions, but also for people like myself and a lot of other folks that are business owners. A lot of times when we go out for different contracts, in that contract, they have to have someone of color that they should consider. Now with this ruling, that could affect that. And the reason why I say that's a big issue going into 2024, in my opinion, I'm a Democrat. I'm not ashamed to say that. If President Biden is not reelected, then there's a chance that more conservative judges can be appointed on the Supreme Court, which will continue striking down some of the progress that we've made in the past 60 years. So we need to pay attention to that. And also need to pay attention to also healthcare too. Healthcare, in my opinion, is going to be a major issue, not just in 2024, but for the next 2 or 3 decades, because as the country ages, as baby boomers continue to age, there is still a lot of discrepancies when it comes to people of color, in particular Black people, receiving the proper treatment that they need to receive in healthcare.
And I agree with you. Actually, the next segment we're going to talk to our sister about how we can help veterans, particularly minority veterans, heal from
Right.
depression and anxiety through nature. So we're going to talk to one of our to a special guest next in our next segment. But I want to get your take on this, though, Brother Doug, because
Yeah.
these issues, of course, these are big issues, like you said, the economy, healthcare. But then your piece is around civic engagement, and we're hearing a lot more of Black folks who are not excited
Yeah.
about this upcoming election. And I want to kind of get your take on that. Is this something that needs to be said, or what needs to be done to ensure that the participation of the Black voter is at the highest level, whether it's starting with today and moving forward, or even going into the national presidential election? What needs to be done? Speak to me about what you're seeing and how Black folks are starting to say, you know what, I may not even vote.
I know, and that's been a very concerning thing for me. It's kept me up at night because you're right. I've noticed a lot of, I guess, apathy would be the word to use in the Black community. And I think a couple of things. One, I support President Biden. I'm not ashamed to say that. I know it's the cool thing to say that Biden is doing a bad job. He's old, whatever. But I support the president. That's one. Two, I think that the reason you're seeing this apathy is because there isn't a direct focus on the issues of Black America, in particular. I'm going back to the economy again, in particular in the area of economics. I think Black folks are tired of, not being able to reach that economic ladder that we've been trying to, or climb that economic ladder we've been trying to climb for the past 60 years. And that's not to say we haven't made any progress, but we still have a long way to go. So I think what needs to happen to garner this excitement is one, the president needs to, I know his campaign is trying to do this, but they need to continue to do it, is to explain what the president has done in layman's terms. And what I mean by that is Black folks don't want to hear about policy. They want to hear about how your policy has actually affected me in a tangible way. And I think that's what's causing this lack of excitement. And I know that also I've heard a lot of other brothers and sisters say, oh, well, the president, he's an old white guy, he's too old. And I think that is something that we should not judge the President Biden on as far as his age, because he can't help that. He's not the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He's not going to be, Curious Vito Benjamin Button, and then by election day he's gonna be looking like Brad Pitt. I am 44 going on 45. I wish I was 24 right now, but it ain't going to happen. So I think that's one thing I just had to say. 'Cause I know that's another issue that's causing the lack of engagement. But and lastly, I would say this too. I also think that the way that Democrats or progressive organizations, the way that we try to engage with Black people, those old ways are not working anymore. And that's not to say that you still can't go to the churches, you still can't go to the D9. You can see on the back of me, I'm part of the D9, but
Right.
there has to be another way where we got to meet Black people and to encourage them to get out and vote.
And that's the big thing. I think that's the big thing. And I'm hearing you about messaging, but I think the biggest message is the optics, and maybe because of our lack of understanding. I'm not saying our in terms of the American people, Black folks, let me just to put it there. Black folks' lack of understanding of how money and government works interchangeably, right?
Yeah.
So if it's just like we talked about, homelessness is a huge issue in this country. I'm in Los Angeles, huge issue. And one of our great viewers just pointed out, but we can send 40 billion to Israel. And to some people, it's like the optics of it all. And government doesn't sit down and say, hey, no, this is the money that goes to this. This is the money that's been allocated to that. And this is the money that goes here. And so when you're talking about voter apathy, it stems from the information that we're receiving. And then we are being left to put together the pieces and create our own context on how things should go or what's to be happening. So is that about messaging, or is that just about lack of communications? Like, how do we make sure that we are teaching and informing folks that, look, these are the priorities? Because right now, if you talk to Black folks in this country, the priority looks more on what's happening in Israel than it does what's happening in our neck of the woods here in America.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up. There is a lack of communication in regards to how the country is allocating funds for domestic and international issues. For Israel, that money that is going to be allocated to them is something that the Congress has passed and passed in previous Congresses as well. And we have to understand too that Israel is an ally of the United States. So when it comes to international affairs, America has to support their allies. They have a treaty, basically, a contract where they say we have to support our allies. But with that said, when it comes to the local issues, like you brought up, homelessness is a major issue, and in a lot of cities, it's an issue here in Charlotte. It's an issue back in my home city of New York. That's something that has to be addressed. But I think what Black voters have to realize is that a lot of those issues that are localized, you have to get out and vote in your local elections to make sure those issues are changed. Because, like, for example, when it comes to fighting a lot of these issues, the president back in 2021 in the America Rescue Plan allocated billions of dollars to cities to address crime, to address homelessness. So it's up to those cities to allocate those funds, not only accordingly, but also appropriately. And so my advice to folks watching is get involved, not just in the presidential cycles, but your city council races, because policy that's passed at the city council level, at the state level, those policies will affect you quicker than, say, policies that's passed at the federal level. And so a lot of times these issues that we're facing is not something that, that's not to say that Washington can't help or hurt, but we got to make sure that we're voting in these elections and understanding the difference between money that has to go internationally because we are bound to assist our allies, and money that stays here. Because what will happen is, and again, speaking from a democratic party perspective, if the president is viewed as, and he's in a very tight spot right now, very, very tight spot, but if he's viewed as not helping allies out into international stage, then the Republicans can use that against him in the election, paint him as weak on international affairs, and he loses. And then we are stuck with a Republican president that probably won't even consider some of the issues that us as a people are looking to have solved.
So this means that what I'm hearing from you, brother Doug, is that this election, that if there's an election that's happening in folks' city, state, local elections, they're going to get more leverage out of this being involved in this local election than we may see in the national election, just because of how the system is set up.
Yeah, they will.
Okay.
And that's not to say that the national elections are not important. It's very
No,
important.
I get that. We talk about those national elections all the time here on the show. So we understand that. But it's just the fact that, like, okay, you could talk about Biden, Trump all day, but when you're talking about making those changes in your community that's going to affect your quality of life, then we're talking local. We're talking state and local stuff.
Yeah. Case in point, here in North Carolina, voter ID has been something that has been pushed by Republicans for at least since Obama got elected. And since Republicans have supermajorities here in the House and the Senate, and they have veto-proof majorities, they were able to pass a voter ID law. So now when I voted in early vote, I had to show a voter ID. You see, that's a state-driven law that didn't come from the federal level. And you can see how quick they were able to get that implemented.
Right. I know, brother Doug, you got to hop off, but I truly appreciate your time, and I would love to bring you back on because, brother, as we know, this is just the kickoff. This is just the beginning of the election season, and there's so many issues in terms of voter suppression. You talk about the voter ID law, voter suppression. There are a lot of these Republican-controlled states that are making huge, waves about how they're moving, like some of these issues on it. And more importantly, we do have to continue the conversation about civic engagement, keeping young people involved and engaged. So there's a lot that we still have to cover. So I will certainly bring you back on, big brother, and we can, continue to chop it up and talk politics. But thank you for your time.
I would love to come back. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about helping military veterans. Sometimes can be a forgotten group of our society, but we're talking about helping veterans to heal through nature and how the Sierra Club is doing its part to expose veterans to everything from outdoor activities to hiking and everything to at least combat some of the ills of war, the ills of being a veteran, and to at least address the issues of depression, anxiety, and other health issues. So we'll have that conversation up next, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Stay with us.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for coming, for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. If you missed the first half of the show, we talked a little bit about the updated news around the hearings for those 5 police officers, former police officers that brutally beat and killed Tyre Nichols. That updated hearing has been set for August the 12th. And so we talked a little bit about the implications of that. Plus, we also just kind of gave you just a snippet. And trust and believe, you can certainly tune into Roland Martin Unfiltered more tonight, as this is election day in America, the kickoff of what some would say that is the beginning of the election season. We're a little bit less than a year away, just like a couple of days less than a year away from the presidential election of 2024. And there are a number of states, cities, and municipalities around the country where voters are going to the polls to talk and to share their thoughts and to basically vote their values, their interests on a number of issues. So we checked in with Doug Wilson, who is a Democratic political strategist, to talk to us about that. And again, folks, tune into Roland Martin Unfiltered tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, because I know Brother Roland and the crew there and all the panelists are going to go much deeper into these conversations about the states, the big races, and what we can expect for those outcomes. But now I want to shift gears to talk about military veterans, and I'm always happy to give space to make sure that veterans are not forgotten in the larger conversation. And it's something to hear about some of the challenges that veterans are experiencing, especially in a country where we say we love our veterans, we appreciate the veterans. We talk about the veterans and we say thank you for your service and give them a free donut, a free coffee. Well, this Saturday marks Veterans Day, and if you are a veteran yourself, thank you so much for your service. If you have family members who are serving, please show their appreciation. But this Saturday is marked Veterans Day, and we were having a special conversation today to talk about how then we can help and to heal veterans who suffer from everything from anxiety to depression. And the Sierra Club is doing its part by exposing veterans to outdoor activities that will help to reduce some of their social and mental health issues. And here to talk to us a little bit more about this issue is our sister Vidya Barnett, who serves as the senior campaign strategist of the Sierra Club's military outdoors program. Vidya, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture. How are you this afternoon, sis?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. And it's Vidya, rhymes with media.
Oh, Vidya. Vidya, I'm sorry. Sister Vidya, thank you so much for the correction. I know how people get, because my name can be a little tricky. So I definitely appreciate the correction. Thank you so much, Sister Vidya. Sister Vidya, talk to us a little bit about this work that you are embarked upon, because a couple of things to let folks know. You're not only working with the Sierra Club to military outdoors program, but you are a disabled Air Force veteran yourself. You're an advocate and community activist. You were inducted into 2018 Charles County, Maryland NAACP Hall of Fame. You got a master's from George Washington University in women, gender, and sexuality studies with an emphasis on Black women's health. You do a number of things as you do hiking. And I got to ask you about one interest that you have. You call glamping. I never heard this one before. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But you're also a part of the board of directors for the Minority Veterans of America. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk a little bit about that work. But let's talk about this. Helping veterans heal through nature. Why is this a big thing that we need to talk about, especially if we come up on Veterans Day this year?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. And I definitely want to first acknowledge both of my parents who are Marine Corps veterans. My dad served in Vietnam War.
Awesome.
My husband is an Army vet. My daughter is a recently Coast Guard vet. She did 7 years in the Coast Guard. So I come from a strong Black military veteran family members that served in the Korean War, World War II, all the way up. So this is near and dear to my heart. I've seen what serving in the military can do, even though it is noble and honorable. The military is the only place where people can be bullied, physically attacked, verbally attacked, put into positions and situations that you would not do in the civilian world. And when we come out of the military, we're then stuck with these issues such as PTSD. I live with PTSD every day. But then there's also, like you mentioned before, anxiety, depression. There are social ills where people don't know how to integrate once they get out the military. And unfortunately for the Black veterans are about 12% of the veteran population. That's 2.03 million Black veterans. We also are the highest homeless rate of veterans in the States. And about 57% of Black veterans have been denied military and veteran disability benefits as opposed to our other counterparts. So this is a widespread problem in the Black community. And what we're trying to do is we've found that research has shown that spending any time outdoors, whether it's 30 minutes in your garden, sitting on your porch, taking your kids to the playground, or doing something like hiking or glamping, which is just camping in a like a cabin or RV or what have you.
Okay.
I'm a tent. Okay. I like to feel the ground under my feet. Research has shown that it definitely reduces stress. It reduces anxiety. People are able to sleep better. They have a sense of purpose. And the other thing that we found is that a lot of Black folks are told we don't go outside, or that's not stuff that we do, or that's what white people do, whether it's surfing, hiking, kayaking, canoeing, scaling Mount Everest. But there are Black folks that are doing it. And one of my responsibilities is to get more underserved veterans outdoors, which means those in urban areas, rural areas, LGBTQ veterans, Black veterans, our Indigenous brothers and sisters. So yeah, that's part of my job.
It's part of your job. Look, I gotta take a quick pause. When we come back, I want to kind of delve a little deeper into this work, because the minority veteran, the Black veteran, the LGBTQ veteran, like, these are folks that have sacrificed. Y'all have sacrificed so much, and I feel like I want to say, you only got so little in return. And I'm saying from the country that you have put yourselves on the line for even each day. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit more about this, because this is not just about healing, right? This is talking about making sure that our veterans are in a better quality of life. You should not be crossing the waters, fighting in fields, doing all of the stuff that y'all do to come back home, and then you gotta go to war with the Veterans Association for insurance. You gotta worry about finding a place to live.
Yeah,
it's just too much. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about it, crew. I want you to join us in the conversation as we were talking to our sister about helping vets heal through nature and making sure that veterans are supported once they come back home to us. So stay with us. That conversation continues on the other side, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We are talking about helping vets heal through nature and how there's one program that the Sierra Club is offering to veterans to help them to reduce anxiety, depression, PTSD. And it's a program that veterans are clamoring for, wanting to be outside, wanting to be in nature. And this is a program that is targeted and geared towards Black and minority veterans of our armed forces. And here to talk to us about this is Sister Vidya Barnett, who serves as the senior campaign strategist for the Sierra Club's military outdoor program. She is also a disabled Air Force vet, and she's an advocate, and she's been doing this work for some time, as she's also a member of the board of the directors member of the Minority Veterans of America. So, Sister Vidya, when we talk about this stuff, right? I'm always fascinated by the fact that there seems to be this outward support for our veterans, but under that veneer, under that facade, veterans are suffering. Veterans are, so many veterans are suffering. My dad is a veteran. He served in Vietnam, and he seemed to be okay, but he told me stories about his brothers, his colleagues, and those his comrades who went to war with them, and how they came back, and it really just messed up. They just had horrific experiences, and I want to kind of talk about that. What are some of the major issues that are facing veterans today?
Number one is when a military member transitions out of the military, there is not a lot of support for them. And so they don't know where to get resources. So if someone is dealing with PTSD, especially in the Black community, there is a stigma behind mental health and receiving mental health services. I can give you an example. My husband was serving. We lived in Germany at the time during September 11th. He had to work 16 hours, 20-hour shifts. And when he wanted to go see a therapist while he was serving, they told him it would impact his security clearance. So they told him, no, he cannot see someone. And here's someone telling you.
And what did he want to see? And you don't have to give me the details, but what was some of the things he wanted? Did he want to see it on his own, or did something happen to him while he was in that service?
Well, the job that he had, it required him to work long hours, and there was a lot of stuff that he did that was classified, so I didn't know. But
Okay.
he felt for himself. He was like, "Yo, I need to see somebody," and they're like, "If you go see a therapist, you will probably be kicked out the military. You will lose your security clearance." And so he was not allowed to seek help. And there are a lot of positions in the military that are top secret, or people may be dealing with munitions or artillery and things of that nature. So seeing a mental health provider is looked down on. The other thing about the military, is it's a very patriarchal, chauvinistic industrial complex. So for a man us to see a therapist, he may be looked down on or talked down to because he's trying to seek help. He may be seen as weak or what have you. So it starts there. Then when they transition out, and people don't know how to navigate the VA healthcare system, let alone how to get access to benefits. And I tell people, yo, this is your workman's comp for being injured, whether it's a moral injury or whether it's a physical injury. This is workers' comp that you get for the rest of your life. You get a check in your bank account for the rest of your life every single month. But people don't even know how to do that. They're told, here, fix a resume, go on some job interviews, and your life will be great. Thank you for your service. But there's so much more to it, especially now with the economy the way it is. That was a guaranteed check. So you're literally turned out like, deuces, thank you. And so people are looking for housing, they're looking for jobs. So that transitions them into homelessness. There's a lot of female veterans with children who are homeless. There's some shelters where they cannot go with their children. So there's all these issues that veterans are facing when they get out the military. And so what research has shown is that when they have access to nature, and granted, though we don't do anything that provides housing and things of that nature, but those who have stability, we do let them know about the importance of spending time in nature, and then how to access nearby nature. There's people who live in urban areas that may not realize that having a playground, 3 blocks away could provide them with that time that they need in nature. Or some communities are not safe. So you have veterans who live in communities that aren't safe. So like this video that you're seeing right now, it took a veteran in New York, it took her an hour and 15 minutes to get to this hike using public transportation. So a part of my job is helping to craft federal policy as well as state policy that provides more access to green spaces and outdoors for veterans.
So these are all veterans that we've seen in this video. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm.
All veterans. Mm-hmm. And let me just share with one of our culture crew members, Janelle. You said this. You said you talked about the issues that I think, Janelle. Let me make sure, because you've been posting a couple of things. But you talked about, Janelle mentioned the fact that veteran assistance is so hard to come by, making the point that veterans are suffering, y'all are hurting, but yet there's all this red tape, there's all of this bureaucracy, and I love how you said it. There's a lot of patriarchy that does not allow for there to be this. I mean, military, we're not expecting the military to coddle you, but at the same time, to at least keep in mind that at the end of the day, you are a human being. You're not just a number. You're not just you know what I'm saying? You're not just a thing. You are a human being. You're not a machine. And I'm wondering, is this something, and I've been hearing this issue for a long time. Has there ever been a time where the military actually, and I'm saying this taking this lightly, has there been a time where the military actually cared about the veterans, cared about its soldiers? Can we go back to a reference point? I mean, I'm serious. I'm serious. Like, I've been hearing about this for a very long time, from personal accounts to.
I would say, if we're talking about historically, when there were veterans, military members who served during, say, the Civil War, and they came back with what now we know as PTSD, they were told that they have a soldier's heart, they need to man up, things of that nature. And I would say prior to the integration of the U.S. military, I do think that the veterans were taken care of. But once integration happened, Black veterans, of course, they experienced discrimination. There was lynchings that happened after they served. Then, especially after the Vietnam War, Black veterans caught the brunt of that, being called baby killers and things of that nature. And majority of these people, they were drafted or they went into the military to improve their lives. So, when they came out, people spit on them, and Black veterans were ran out of town because they were thought to be uppity and things of that nature. So I would definitely say,
but that's different though. That's a different thing though, right? But like the Black veteran years ago, and I'm talking about 40, 50 years ago, when that Black man came home in that uniform, it was a sign of pride. It was like, he is coming home. He is, He is a pillar of the community. When did that happen? When now we're hating the people that are fighting for our freedoms?
Well, I think I feel it's in reverse. I think now there's more respect for veterans, but I do think during that time frame, during Jim Crow, there was a lot of discrimination and racism when Black veterans came home. A lot of them were lynched. Like I said, a lot of them were ran out of town. Black veterans weren't allowed to access the GI Bill. They weren't allowed to access the VA home loan system. So upward mobility was not within our reach until probably about the 70s or 80s.
Absolutely. I understand that. We're going to have to take a quick pause, but I do have this question for you. As the military gets more diverse, you're talking about more women, people of color, you're talking about LGBTQIA. How has this changed the impact of care right now?
So the VA is working on being more inclusive. So if you go to va.gov, there are links for specifically LGBTQ veterans, senior veterans, women veterans. They're now beginning to cover things such as infertility treatments, reproductive health care. So they are coming along. What I'm finding as a woman veteran is that the VA near me sends me out to what's called community care. So I actually get most of my health care on the civilian side as opposed to at a VA hospital.
Wow. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation with our sister Vidia Barnett from the Sierra Club. And of course, I want to hear from you, Culture Crew. What's your take on this as we're talking about helping vets heal through nature? As you saw the video, veterans are looking for alternative ways, more holistic ways of dealing with some of these larger issues of PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And the Sierra Club is just one of many organizations that's trying to do its part to helping veterans heal. So we'll continue that conversation on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. I've been checking in with my sister, Zadia Barnett, who is from the Sierra Club. She's actually serving as the senior campaign strategist of the Sierra Club's military outdoors program. And we're talking about helping veterans heal through nature. Now, this Saturday, it is Veterans Day, folks. So do your part to, if you are a veteran, or if you have a veteran in your family or veterans in your family, do your part to show them some love, appreciate them some appreciation, because you don't know, but they may not be hearing a lot of thank yous these days. But most importantly, do your part, especially for minority veterans, Black veterans, those who are part of the LGBTQ community. These veterans are still putting themselves on the line for a greater cause, and we cannot thank them enough for their service and their sacrifice. Now, we're talking about this because back in 2022, the Department of Veteran Affairs, they established this task force on outdoor recreation for veterans, and the task force is developing a nationwide plan to connect veterans with the outdoors. And this is where the Sierra Club's military outdoor programs coming in, Military Veterans of America is coming in, and REI, the retailer, are collaborating on a series of listening sessions to collect information. They're trying to gain feedback and ideas directly from veterans to share with the task force about their plan and to actually implement their ideas that is based upon the actual needs of veterans. And so, Sister Vadia, to talk to us about this first listening session that was held at the REI flagship store in Washington, D.C., and the subsequent listening sessions after this point, what can folks expect at these listening sessions, and how can they get more information about it?
Awesome. So yes. We're super excited about the listening sessions. The point of them is to go where the veterans are. So you'll see us in rural Kentucky. You're going to see us in urban areas, say in New Orleans or Atlanta, Augusta. We're coming to a city near you. And so what veterans can expect is we will have a facilitated listening session where their voices are heard. We're going to ask them questions about how they access the outdoors. Are there any barriers such as transportation, which is a huge one, fees. So a lot of states and national parks have fees that are cost prohibitive if you're especially on a limited income, as well as accessibility. So if you have a veteran who's in a wheelchair, they may not be able to access their local, state, or national parks. So we're going to be getting their responses from a number of questions. And then part of getting their responses is then asking them and setting up groups where we can come up with solutions. So the veterans are the ones who are going to be coming up with the solutions. I don't want to be the one who's speaking for a veteran, say in rural Appalachia, what their needs are. We want to hear exactly from the veterans. And then what we'll do is, after we do these listening sessions around the country, we will then come up with a report with data that we can then turn over to the VA task force. The VA task force is congressionally mandated to come up with recommendations for the VA. And with these recommendations, then there will be hopefully monies funneled down that will trickle down to either nonprofits or VA programming that they can bring more veterans into the outdoors that may not actually have access. When people think of the outdoors, they're thinking of you got to go to the Grand Canyon or Yosemite.
Right. Right.
It could be some, like I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. There's an amazing park in the city that has waterfalls. And so people just may not know what's near them. And we call that nearby nature. So I'm really excited about this because I want to be able to hear from the veterans. And this is all veterans. So whether, that veteran is a senior veteran, a woman veteran, a disabled veteran, whoever they are, we want them to show up and have their voices heard.
Absolutely. My one of our great culture crew members, Real Brooklyn, he said, "I'm a black veteran who have no issues with the VA. Even though I'm retired, I still get care from the VA. Serving in Somalia gave me PTSD, and the VA has helped me a great deal." He also has posted, "You also have vets that are dragged in here by family members because the vet doesn't want help for some reason. It's a constant battle from many fronts trying to get vets the help they need." Is that something that you're also facing as well, Vidya? Is that you have this resistance from vets? And big shout out to Real Brooklyn for his service and time, but and getting the just necessary support, because again, that's not what I've heard, but I know it's different for each person. But the fact that you still have some veterans that are resistant to getting help, even going as far as Real Brooklyn has gone, how do you get to that veteran to make sure that they are supported?
Well, one of the things that I do is I just educate them. I talk to people on their level. I've had people tell me, well, I don't need that. And I'm like, hey, I'm 100% disabled veteran. That is $3,800 a month in my bank account every month. You're going to tell me you can't use that. That includes your health care, your dental, your mental health, eyeglasses. These are services that you have. Also, if they don't know that, say, for instance, that they have an issue with employment. So if you are a disabled veteran more than 30%, now you have access to VOC rehab or veteran readiness and employment. So that means you're assigned to a counselor who can then help you get an education. That's how I got my master's degree. The VA paid for my master's degree. They paid for,
that's amazing.
Yeah, my books, my everything. So a lot of veterans just don't know what's available. Like I said, when people transition out of the military, they just don't know. They're just told, go get a job. Here's how you do a resume. This is how you show up for an interview. But they're not told, hey, if you suffered an injury while you were in the military, whether it's a moral injury, like for me, I have PTSD. I worked in a hospital stateside, but the things that I saw in that hospital caused me to have PTSD. So a lot of people don't even know what they've experienced or they were exposed to in the military transitions and translates into a disability.
Mm, mm, mm. And I'm glad that you got the support that you need. What's been the huge benefit from the fact that you can expose a veterans that exposed to the outdoors? What has been the gains that veteran has been able to get?
Wow, it's so many. Number one, like me and my colleague here in Atlanta, we're actually hosting a Veterans Day hike on Saturday for all veterans. I actually recently hosted an all-female veteran hike, and there was camaraderie. A lot of veterans miss that when they get out of the military because, when you're in the military, you live with people, you work with them. There's this whole system. It's kind of like a family, even though it may be, a dysfunctional family, it's still a family. And then when you get out the military, you lose that structure. So there's definitely camaraderie, and research has shown that, especially if a veteran has substance abuse issues, they're less likely to return to that as I'll say as quickly because they have a battle buddy. That's the term we use in the military. You didn't go anywhere without your battle buddy. So having that accountability and someone to look out for you, and you're bonding in nature, or stay on a walk, a hike, kayaking. I recently just took that up. That's an experience that someone else that did not serve in the military just won't have, with you. So
Right.
it's definitely it's life changing. I experienced a stroke in 2019, and I reached out to veteran friends of mine, and I started my recovery in the outdoors. And I know for me that was a life changer. I don't think I would be talking to you today if it wasn't for me getting outside after my stroke and recuperating and getting that time outdoors.
Well, I'm glad that you got through that. I'm glad you got the support, because I would have been mad if you didn't show up today.
I'd have been mad too.
So I'm happy about that. Look, we got one more question. It is election day in some parts of the country. Is there any policy, or what can we advocate for politically to support Black veterans and minority veterans at this point? Is there anything that's on the ballot that you think that we need to say, you know what, we need our full support behind this one?
Right. So there's not anything particular on the ballot. Currently, there is some legislation that's been put forth. Senator Cory Booker put forth some legislation which is called Transit to Trails, which is ensuring that individuals who use public transportation, that transit or that transportation can get them to the trail. So in LA, for example, there's like this bus line that stops maybe about a half a mile from a park. So trying to get some funding to get that bus line to go to that park so that individuals can get all the way to that park, So that is one. And then there's several others coming down the pike. Here in Georgia, I'm working on House Bill 205, which is to eliminate all state park fees for veterans in Georgia. So definitely, it's a little bit of work, but they can Google and search ballots and proposed bills in their states if they want to find out exactly, what's on a local level. And I heard you talking about that with the previous interviewee about on their local level. So that's what I'm working on. That is my baby here in Georgia, because I came from Maryland. Park passes were free for veterans, and I'm like, yo, I'm here in Georgia now. Like, what's up? So
I'm from Maryland too. Maryland too. Right, that's awesome. What part of Maryland are you from?
I grew up in PG County, but I lived like the last 20 years in Charles.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. I'm from Baltimore.
Okay. Oh, you in that other part of Maryland.
What other part of Maryland is there?
Baltimore not like the DMV. Okay, you already know that.
Hey, you know what? I wish I could have stopped this interview just 30 seconds, just a little 30 seconds earlier. Baltimore is not like the DMV. Baltimore is the DMV.
Nah.
I really did like you all the way up until that moment. I really did. All right. Well, you know what? That's neither here nor there. You're still doing fantastic work, whether you're in Maryland or whether you're in Georgia. So we truly appreciate you. What's the best way that folks can get more information about the Sierra Club's military outdoor program?
Yes. So they can go to our website, sierraclub.org/military-outdoors. And we actually have a survey that we just launched that we want any veteran, any military member to fill out so that we can get their experiences. And we will take your voice back to our elected officials and say, hey, this veteran in Colorado or this veteran in Florida, this is what they're looking for. This is what they need. So please, it's sierraclub.org/military-outdoors. There is a survey, and we will be having our listening sessions updated on there pretty soon. We're looking to do Georgia in December.
That's awesome right there. My sister Vidia Barnett, who's checking in from the Sierra Club down in Atlanta, Georgia, doing her work with Black veterans, as she is a distinguished Black veteran herself, working with Black veterans, getting them to help them to heal through nature and so many other capacities. But Vidia, thank you so much for doing this fantastic work. I mean, to have a sister like you with the heart that you have, this is so necessary. So thank you so much for being so good for the culture, and more importantly, so good for our Black and minority veterans. We appreciate you.
It's an honor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, I got a story for you that has so many different dynamics. It's not what you think, but it's interesting. So I'm going to share it with you and get your take on it. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, for our final conversation, I saw this story and I thought about, how do we kind of make sense of it? This is a story about a teacher who has decided to do some extracurricular activities. This is the story of Brianna Kopich. She's a 28-year-old English teacher. And she formerly taught at a school in St. Clair High School, which is about an hour from outside of St. Louis. Well, apparently, some folks got word about her racy side hustle and reported it to the school district there in St. Clair, and essentially she was fired. What was the side hustle? She had an OnlyFans page. If you're familiar with the platform OnlyFans, you know that it has a lot of different offerings, but one of the offerings is that has a lot of sexual videos and all the type of those things. So she decided that she wanted to do this as a side hustle. Now, it's not the fact that she was wrongly, violated the policy. It was just the simple fact that when the district did an investigation, they asked her, well, do you have a side hustle? Do you do some other work outside of your job? And she told them, yes, I do. I have an OnlyFans page. And essentially she was let go because that did not fit the proper representation for the school district. Now, she understood this, but she's not even mad that she lost her job because she recently said that by her having an OnlyFans page, she was able to make about close to $1 million from the page. $1 million from an OnlyFans page. She has touted that she is one of the top earners on the platform because previously she was making $42,000 as a teacher. And she said she initially started an OnlyFans account to make extra money that would help pay off her student loans from her advanced degree. So she said this. Let's put up quote one, please, Lee. She said, I started it, one, I'm looking down at the bottom, last paragraph. She said, I started at one to just supplement my income and kind of see what happens and possibly make extra money. Like I have student loans. I was working on my third degree. So I also have a master's degree in education, and then I was working on my specialist degree. She has 3 degrees, and she's on OnlyFans. I want to get your take on this very quickly because I know that there has been a lot of cultural conversations about women, and there are so many intersections, and I thought this was very interesting. There's so many intersections of what's happening here, so many layers to this. But one of the big things is I think it's very interesting that one, that a teacher has to feel like she has to resort to having a supplemental income like this, right? Like, you're only getting paid $42,000 to work in the state of Missouri and, to supplement your income. That's unfortunate. But then there's this cultural component of this story, which is interesting, which is that OnlyFans, she felt like she had to do this. And I'm always questioning, and crew, and to all the ladies that are part of the crew today, I'm always interested, and it's fascinating to me when I hear women say, I had no choice. This was something I needed to do. And I'm always asking the question, is this really by choice or is this by circumstance? I want to get your take on this very quickly. Robert Davis said, bye-bye, teaching job. One of the things she did mention is that now that she has made close to $1 million in the situation, that she doesn't plan on returning but to the classroom. But the thing is, here's a woman with 3 degrees. She has 2 degrees, and she has her BAs, her bachelor's, she has her master's, and she was, she's working toward getting her specialist degree. So she is a very highly degreed woman, but she has an OnlyFans page. What do y'all make of this? What is this? What is this? And I've heard women, and I've heard this woman, I've heard so many women who have resorted to being a part of the sex industry to do this. Now, is this something, like I said, is this by choice, by circumstance? Because I could think of 1,000 other things. Hey, Brother Dana, I could think of 1,000 other things that a woman can do. And y'all tell me, and I'm not trying to be no chauvinist or anything, but I always find it interesting. It's like, this is the only thing you could have done to supplement your income. Is this really by circumstance? Or do you like the fact that you got the attention, you're making a good amount of money, you're making a lot of money from it, and as a result, you're just... All right, let me go to Corinna, because Brother Damon, you already said your piece. Corinna, you said teachers are severely underpaid and underappreciated. I always had supplemental income when I was working in Florida public schools, always worked 2 jobs. Would you work as an OnlyFans person, though, Corinna? That's the question. OnlyFans. Janelle, you checked in and said side hustles are not extracurricular activities. There must have been some unspoken morality clause. Many jobs make money than a teacher. The professional requires a lot. It is not reciprocated. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're not a more morality clause. And I remember having this conversation some time ago that, because when she was asked the question during the investigation, do you do this during, I mean, they asked, like, do you do this during your class time? She was like, no, this is during my professional time. But there are jobs that are very serious about having you being a representative of that role all the time. Like there is no off time. So this is kind of like getting into murky waters. Not like, again, she's not even worried about losing her job as a teacher. I wonder why. She's making nearly $1 million. Of course. Sharon Gregory, you said that's right, sis. Bump them and bump them. It's their loss. The system ain't paying you. No, ain't paying you anywhere near that. So pay your bills. Here's the thing, though, Sharon. I think this is the great irony of women who resort to going into some sort of sex industry role, right? That's how I'm gonna put it. Sex industry role. I think it's interesting that women are often encouraged to use their body, to embrace their body, to promote their body, right? And then the moment that women do that, y'all know what's coming next. Y'all get ostracized, marginalized, labeled as all types of names outside of the child of God in the process. Like the culture says, no, twerk on it. Show your ass, all of this stuff, make it bounce, blah, blah, blah. And then when you do it, they're like, look at you, you're such a B, you're such a, oh, you're this, you're that. How does a woman deal with that? Big brother Willie Frazier, you said, first of all, how you know she got an OnlyFans? How do I know she said it, Willie? 2, if she's not seducing children, it's all good until the kids find out. Stay in elementary, LOL. How do we know? And one of the things she said is that she doesn't believe that a student ratted her out. she said it was brought to the district's attention by an adult, probably by a father of one of the students. Janelle, you said, do you know what she did on OnlyFans? She could have been satisfying somebody's foot fetish. I don't know, but does it matter? If people say, look, let me just tell y'all, OnlyFans they don't say it out loud like, hey, on this site we promote porn. I want to pull up very quickly with OnlyFans. How they say. They said on OnlyFans, where creators earn, I'm looking directly at the site, folks. It says OnlyFans created a platform based on a new set of ideals. Creative ownership, inclusivity, freedom, and safety. It's an original fan creator connection platform. So it's all about empowering people to create. It's not about just putting sex on the internet. Interesting. Tiana, you said for 6 years I worked 2 jobs and I'm tired. I get why folks do only. Tiana, does that sound like you? Did you consider that, Tiana? Don't answer. Don't answer that, Tiana. Don't answer that. Who else? Janelle, you said if a job requires you to be on all the time, you need to get paid for it. It's interesting that she's being shunned because somebody else is paying her. I don't think she's just being shunned by what somebody else is paying her. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think it's still interesting that we are living in a time where we promote sexual freedom, sexual expression, but in that, if you're looking at the system of patriarchy, sexism is still real, sexual exploitation is real, and as a result of those things, along with patriarchy, you have oppression. So women are still being oppressed. Now, that's her prerogative, whether she wants to start off. What I often look at, though, is this idea of circumstance versus choice. Is it really a circumstance? Like you feel like you had to do this, like I had to create an account, or is it really by the choice? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, folks, and I think if women are honest with themselves, and I'm just saying this, and don't beat me up, ladies. Some women just say, you know what? I like being that type of woman. I like being that type of woman. You said Jano, you said, how are you going to explain your browser history to your queen? I went to OnlyFans, only went to like one page. I didn't even go deep into it. I just looked at the first page and geez. Terrence Bowling, my brother, you said that's real talk, brother. That's real talk. That's real talk. Look, as we close out on this day, I thought it was interesting. She said if she was given the opportunity to do this again, guess what she would do? Do this again, folks. That's exactly what she said. She don't regret it. She said, I still strongly feel that people are allowed to have personal lives outside of their career. And I've seen a lot of comments like, well, what if the student found it or it's online? People are going to see it. Dagnabbit, people are going to see it. If you want to see my OnlyFans page, just pay for it and you will see it. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do, y'all. We got a lot of work to do. I'm done with y'all. I'm done. Not taking no more of y'all comments because y'all getting too crazy. I'm done. I'm done. Hey, look, I appreciate each and every one of you. Cindy D, who always thinks I don't see you. Cindy, I see you. I see you, Cindy. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure y'all support us on the blackstarnetwork.com, man. Black Star Network. I wonder, do men have OnlyFans page? Hey, I'm asking my team. Do men have OnlyFans page? I haven't heard of that. I'm being dead ass serious. Anyway, make sure y'all go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media. And of course, your financial support means the world to us. So please give something, put something in the bank for us. Because it makes a huge difference as we're powering this movement. And I saw somebody make a donation today, but I can't go back to that person. But if you made a donation today, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm glad that you use your money toward Black Star Network and not OnlyFans. Thank you. Also, thank you to all of thank you to our very special guests, Medea Barnett and Doug Wilson. We truly appreciate you. And I want to thank my dynamic production team, Joel, Shannon, Chris, Maddie, and King Keenan. And of course, my producer, Lise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay tuned. Up next night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time is Big Brother Roland Martin with Roland Martin Unfiltered. Of course, election coverage will continue to be there. And make sure y'all stay tuned to Black Star Network as we're streaming a lot of content to cover all the day's activities of election day in America for 2023. Make sure y'all watch us. Don't go to your OnlyFans page. I know some of y'all. There we go. I know some of y'all. Angie Brown, you said if I was 20 years younger, please get off of the internet, Angie. Angie, we don't need to hear it if you were 20 years younger. What would you do 20 years if you were 20 years younger, Angie? What would you be doing? All right, y'all, I got to go. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another exciting edition of The Culture. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. We're going to be checking if my sister Suzette speaks and having the dopest conversation. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Peace.